Good morning, great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning. Again, yes, the beautiful reminder that we get to choose. Remember, you always have a choice. Write that in your notes again. I always have a choice. And what is the choice that I'm speaking of? Well, we're talking about your ability to accept, reject ideas, to give meaning to things. Remember, your reality has nothing to do with the facts. It has nothing to do with what's happening in your life, what somebody said, what somebody's done, what you've done, any outcome. See, everything is fundamentally meaningless. See, your reality is based on the meanings that you give those fundamentally meaningless things. And what's so beautiful is when you choose to see the good, to open your mind to inviting the good into your life, you know what happens? The good comes to you. But see, this is where application comes into play. This is where use is. See, this information, as wonderful as it is mere static energy. It's passive. See, what you've got to do is shift it from being passive, from being static to being dynamic. See, that's how life is. And see, this is where use comes into play. And this is what we are inviting into you throughout all of this. We're inviting you into the world of application use, not collecting information. Bob Proctor said that frequently. When you collect information, when you gather information, that's all you're doing. See, it's not being used, which is why most people are feeling stuck. It's why they go into this matrix here of a shift. It's because they don't understand that, see, it's the use that has to take place here. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera here real quick because I didn't realize that it was going to be going into this zone. So bear with me just a moment and I'll go ahead and switch it over and boom. Okay, now it's a different camera. Okay, now we won't get that matrix feel. But then again, now with you, as we're going into this, I want you to make sure that you're using what we're talking about. Okay, that you apply it practically in your life. And if you do, you will see these changes that you're seeking. You want to attract more income into your life? Guess what? It's got to start in your mind first. You have to start thinking that way. You have to start operating from how you would love things to be instead of as from things as they are. And that's what, again, what we're hoping that you get for you as well. All right. So with that being said, I want to share something with you from The Hidden Power by Thomas Troward. And it's another beautiful reminder that ties beautifully into what we've been studying here in the Master Key System. And this is in the chapter of The Hidden Power. And again, this is really, really awesome. He says, no one can deny that there is an intelligent order throughout all nature. Isn't that kind of cool? We've been talking about that in the Master Key System. For it requires the highest intelligence of our most highly trained minds to follow the steps of this universal intelligence, which is always in advance of them. The more deeply we investigate the world we live in, the more clear it must become to us that our science is the translation into words or numerical symbols of that order which already exists. So what he's saying is once you start to study your world and how it actually got there, which stemmed from how you're thinking, and then start to intentionally think how you would love things to be, which then will deliver that outcome, that's when your life changes dramatically. I mean, this is, again, really awesome. But see, this is where you've got to put your mind in order. I want you to write this in your notes. Order is heaven's first law. there must be order in your life in order for there to be order in your outer world. And again, that's what we're diving into deeply as we study this beautiful masterpiece, the Master Key System. Now, if you don't have a copy of this, make sure you do get a copy of it. If you get this exact copy, you'll be able to read along with us page for page. So get that, but most importantly, don't just read it. Don't just take the notes. Don't just memorize it. Apply it practically in your life. All right, so let's go to where we are with our goal cards here. And also another reminder with regards to the goal card. Remember, we don't manifest what we write on the goal card. We don't manifest what's on a vision board. We don't even manifest affirmations. We manifest how we feel about them. So have this with you and then use this as we're going through this wonderful, beautiful material. All right, so let's go there. Here we go. Boom. All right, now, where are we in this chapter? Well, we're on page 319, and we're going to go over this section again. A knowledge of cause and effect as shown by the laws governing what? And these are things that we know of: steam, electricity, chemical affinity, and gravitation, all of which operate by law, enables men to plan courageously and to execute fearlessly. See, that's what we dive into. We dive into the principles, the laws that govern our lives. And what's beautiful is when you become aware of these laws, you can use them to deliver the outcomes that you seek. But see, most people don't get that. There's a beautiful book I love, and I have this here on my desk, which actually ties into that really well, and that's Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. And one thing that I do highly recommend that you do when we're talking about law, see, he's referencing God in this specific book, but what he says is to look at it from the perspective of God being law. So you think of, for instance, how it states scripturally, and remember, this is not about being churchy or anything like that. We're talking about principles, but he says that it says written that God is no respecter of persons, for the way that people think or human thinking is foolishness to him. Well, here in this other book, he says to shift the perspective to be that of the law. So in other words, the law is no respecter of persons. It's no respecter of you. The purpose of the law itself is to enforce itself, to externalize it. Now, what's beautiful is once you get that, the same way that you, for instance, look at this, what we call the law of gravitation, which is actually the law of buoyancy and density. But anyways, when you think of gravity and what we've been taught, it's something that's there. So for instance, is gravity a respecter of you? No, it's not. It doesn't give a shit about you. It doesn't care about anything in itself. With that being said, we know that with that law, whatever's there, that for instance, to say I have these eye drops, and if I let go of them, what's going to happen? It's going to fall. See, that law doesn't care about whether or not it's this, whether or not it's a dog, a cat, a child, whether or not it's you. It will enforce. And it's the same way when it comes to these laws that govern the universe, which deliver outcomes, of which we're going to, again, be tying into what's talked about here, which is cause and effect. Remember, like causes lead to like effects. Write that in your notes. Type that in the comments. Like causes lead to like effects. If you want your life to be a reflection on the outside of this being a material fact, you've got to deal with the cause, which is what will deliver that. You've got to think from this. So again, looking at this, a knowledge of cause and effect as shown by the laws governing steam, electricity, chemical affinity, and gravitation enables men to what? Plan courageously and to execute fearlessly. See, when you understand, for instance, cause and effect, you will be able to plan courageously and to execute fearlessly. In other words, to rid yourself from the worry and the doubt. Now, these laws are called natural laws because they govern the physical world. But all power is not physical power. I want you to underline that. All power is not physical power. All power is not physical power. Okay. And that's important to get. Oops, sorry about that. It's important for you to get that, for you to understand that, for you to see that importance there, for you to see that all power is not that way, that you have to really tap into understanding that it's the mental inside, it's the inside that delivers the outside. That's where the real source is. That's the primal cause. So again, really grab on to what I'm saying here. Again, all power, all power is not physical power. There is also mental power, and there is moral power, and there is spiritual power. Now let's go further. What are our schools, our universities? But mental powerhouses, places where mental power is being developed. What's this? This is a magnificent place. It's a university where you can establish some really powerful thought patterns to grow your life the way that you would love it to grow. I mean, that's how I look at this. You know how I look at my car? I look at my car as a university when I'm driving. You know why? Because I can listen to some really great information. And then as I'm driving, as I'm listening to that information, I can be thinking of ways to use it and then start using it in my life. I mean, have you ever thought about that? Because many people they don't look at things that way, and many people they commute a long way to get to where they need to go for work. Many commutes are like what, they're a half hour, 40 minutes, sometimes even an hour. You know that's a magnificent time to fill your mind with some really great information, and then from there use that information. But see, this is where most people falter, because they don't go into that zone where yes, they'll hear the information, but then they don't go the next step further, which is to use it. Now let's go further. As there are many mighty powerhouses for the application of power to ponderous machinery, whereby raw material is collected and converted into the necessities and comforts of life, so the mental powerhouses collect the raw material and cultivate and develop it into power, which is infinitely superior to all the forces of nature, marvelous though these may be. Now, what's he referencing here? Well, quite simply, he's referencing that all the power that comes from mind is greater than the physical forces. Think about that. All the powers that come to mind is more powerful than physical forces. Now, why? The big question is why? Well, because thought created the tools that we now control, that now control nature itself. Think about that. Think about all of the things that you have. The planes that defy gravity, when they really don't defy gravity, they actually work with the law, or the phones that you use to communicate with people. This handheld device that you have, which is actually a computer. The phone is the smallest thing that it does. But I really want you to think about how those things, whatever they are, they were imagined first before they became the material thing. Now, again, really grab onto that, because this is what he's referring to. Now, before we go further to dive deeper into this, for those of you who are watching this live stream and would love to dive deeper into the remainder of this call and to watch the recordings, which are amazing to use, then go to elevitality.com and register for Master Your Mind. You'll thank yourself later.